Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Johnson with playtolearn.com and metahug.org. Today, hopefully, everyone can hear me. Again, we're still doing this noon central every Tuesday. We're going to be having different conversations about the gamified education as a brand strategy. And today, I just wanted to personally go over it just a little. Just a brief summary of what we're doing here, just to give an update of what we're doing with role play. We had a great fashion week in Roblox. It was really exciting to see Nicole, who's a influencer across the Latin speaking, Spanish speaking market in really Latin America as a whole. She has, I believe, 170 million views across her socials. So it was really exciting to have her come on and to be a part of it and really lead that and announce the winners. And so, congratulations to the winners. And really, that's what's exciting about what we're doing as a whole for the design competition. What we call what we're terming as the teach learn mindset. How do you simultaneously teach yourself and learn at the same time? And reverse engineer that end goal. So I think I love what Roblox is doing with the design competitions in general, what they're doing with FITM and avatars in general. Having the creation of those avatars, you can really customize and based on the need of what your mood is or whatever you are reflecting, you can actually be a part of that and role play that. So you can maybe kick out of a slump if you're depressed, if you need to have more joy and to kick out of that and to give a kick to wearing something fun and spunky, you can actually kick out of something maybe that is in a rut, but you're actually making that come alive with something fun to wear. And I think that that's really exciting. So we had a great fashion week, and the role playing is going to be a huge part of really being able to become something that you're not yet. For example, maybe you're not a good tennis player, but you're role playing being a tennis player in the game, and that's helping you with the mindset of becoming that. And a lot of people don't have the resources maybe to do that in the real world, but in the virtual world, we're able to do that more so. So I think that that's what's really exciting about the gamified education side is that we can actually help transform someone's mind through the power of play and something that's never been done. And they may not even be able to imagine it, but with the help of imagining it through role playing in the game, it's made possible. In the same way, maybe you don't know what you want to buy in a home, but the interior designer helps you and transforms 5 different homes and gives you options for what that is, what that looked like for going into 5 different styles of homes, 5 different styles of decorations, and you get to see what you like and don't like. And that's what a lot of students are actually doing here in the games. They're seeing what they like and don't like and role playing various things. And what we used to do, cops and robbers and you know different things that as children playing dress up or playing in the kitchen, this is just a different form of that. So it, just using what we saw again every week, going over the case study, 79 people in current.com and the experts coming together to create this white paper and to see this. Hopefully you can see our screen. Everything should be working. So again, the gamification of education in general, how do you transform someone's lives? And it says 53 here. We had a total of 79 in the end. Um, and how do you gamify something and bring it to life for students that in the past have had more stagnant growth in the sense of it's more 2D instead of 3D. So in the classroom setting, you have something in a sense that is more reactive. How do you become more proactive in the sense of in real time learning? And that's the idea for what we're doing is this teach learn mindset, and similar to the growth mindset versus fixed mindset. going beyond just saying you're going in the growth mindset, how do you then teach yourself and learn simultaneously? And that's a lot of us need to go. If you're able to teach something, you're able to learn it in a much deeper way. And that's where we're really focused on here. And the next phase 2 platform is being able to build a marketplace for whatever you're learning. You can actually put those final exams back onto the marketplace to sell back into the marketplace to incentivize learning. And that's exciting. And we look forward to sharing more at the end of the year when we're launching that intelligence dashboard, and to help that gamification of education be more measurable, and that intelligence to be more insightful for the minister of education in that country, to help understand the growth of the economy is based on the growth of the education. Learning is the foundation for any country. So that growth mindset versus fixed mindset, you're not going to have a growing economy, a growing country, if you don't focus on the education and the learning. And if it is fixed, it's going to wither away. So that growth is not just growth mindset. How do you have, again, learning and teaching simultaneously? And that's where we had a great time to get with the students in the fashion week. Basically, they not only designed their own clothes, but they marketed their clothes and created their own boutique, and they got to have a return in selling those clothes. And then the actually finish a finished product in the t-shirt, the end goal is actually something for them to reverse engineer for others to learn. So even if that product is the only thing as a teaching tool for the others to look at least you have an end in mind to reverse engineer. And that's where the execution comes in. Execution is so important when you actually have an end product tangible to be able to hold up and to see. At least you can reverse engineer it. And that's the first step in teaching, is actually having a finished product. So that finished product meaning that exam, or that finished product meaning that virtual t-shirt that I designed. Now, that virtual t-shirt that you designed, maybe the learners aren't the best teachers, but in time they will become better and better. And that's where we have to have society at large become better teachers, so they can be better learners. And in turn, by being better learners, they can be better teachers. And it goes hand in hand. Iron sharpens iron, diamond cuts diamond. That's where the idea of the teach learn mindset and methodology comes in. And that correlation with role play and that design side of what Roblox and Minecraft is so known for, that's where it is vital in connecting to education and learning in general. So when we talk about this, it's, again, the needs and drivers for change. We go back to NFTs and soulbound tokens, and basically having that community and that brand engagement. What we're doing with soulbound tokens is having a unique aspect of someone, a student, having a unique identity within our platform, and NFTs to have incentives. And if you basically pass the sustainability test, then you're able to then put it even on your LinkedIn. In the same way you get more jobs on Fiverr and Upwork by having more, if you're promoting basically that you can help market SDGs around sustainability, right? You having an NFT of saying you have this sustainability course proven and you passed it. That is a record on the blockchain that can't be, no one can lie about. So it's trustable, and that trusted system is, I think, the future of Web3, and in general, what we need to do to be able to help encourage a better community where there is a feedback loop, and that we can have incentives, but also having trust is very important. So that soulbound token is basically your identity, and that identity is a part of the platform, because the identity and knowing someone is who they say they are, and then helping, and they're creating that curriculum, is very important to have that feedback loop for the community. So having incentives similar to loyalty points and various things just like you go into a learning arcade, you're going in, and for example, for us, the first platform that we're doing is Roblox. And Roblox is a great community in and of itself, but how do then we connect other game platforms in that? So that intelligence dashboard is key, and having those metrics in the same way you have Hootsuite and you aggregate social media, we need to aggregate gaming platforms and the learning between those platforms. And there is nothing like it. So that is important for the future of Web3, but really in general, the future of learning, to make that connect and to have incentives to gamify learning in a way that makes sense for all students, because it shows in some ways, some statistics show it's 11 times more retentive. You have 11 times more retention of information for a student in gamification in a game than in a classroom, and that's just staggering. So building out that is very, very much key to the platform and where we're going with this. We definitely look forward to having your involvement and to being a part of the community with you, to co-brand your game with other things that we're doing. Specifically in Roblox, we see food and fashion as two very, very, very hot topics right now. In food and fashion are definitely if not the two hottest, in the top 5. So we focused on those, food and fashion, especially around avatars. And when you're in the mood of wearing an Oreo, that's what you want to eat, right? And avatars represent and reflect what that student is desiring. And so those staggering statistics are something that we definitely want to look at. How do we integrate and be interoperable between those live data points of helping find those pain points and alleviate those pain points for the student? And then in turn, for the Minister of Education and all the different levels of headmaster, various things that we basically need to deal with the teachers, of integrating those real-time data points to help the learner learn better. And that's, we think of community, but for a brand, it's community. But even for a school, that's also community. Like, how do you connect with your peers in a better way? And you gamify that. And that real-time feedback could make or break whether that child is coming home crying or not. And I think that that's very, very real and very tangible and very applicable. So again, we are going through this, what we went through in the current, this was a few months ago. Again, the market's still down. This is more Web3 focused. We don't really have to go over that now, but the screen time is so, so important. Screen time is vital to everything that we're doing. And this is basically the premise of the original purpose of founding this with Leanne. Leanne has 2 kids, 4 and 9, and she's just solving her own problems. Really, this is, how do we make screen time more valuable? How do we make screen time, in a sense, where it is more proactive than reactive? How do you then make it about the community? How do you make it about learning and make it powerful? Because a lot of the students are more reactive and they're passively intaking this information, but they're not taking action with it. They're not just not learning, they're not teaching. So how do then we make them not only learn, but how do we make them teach as well, simultaneously to learning? And that growth mindset is very, very much key. In the core of what we're doing is role playing. So again, going into role playing, connecting to that teach learn mindset, that is very, very fundamental to what we're doing here at Play to Learn and metahug.org. So again, we're going to go into that deeper, but just so you know, the students' screen time is so important for us, and it's at the very heart of what we're doing. So for us and for you parents out there, It's vital for you to know how much this is a focus, how we can work with you as parents together to ignite the imagination of the student to learn, but not just to learn, but to teach as well, and to be able to gamify that, whatever you're teaching them. In the same way you're on Fiverr and Upwork, in the same way you're going on and learning and then teaching, you actually need to have that information alive and make that where the learner is not even knowing they're learning. And then they're teaching others and their peers without even knowing they're teaching. And that's the key. And I think that that's, as a whole, the family can bring together that community in the same way Monopoly brought families together, and they gamified learning about real estate and money and the value of money. Even though Monopoly wasn't a perfect example, that's the premise of what we're trying to do, is gamify. In the same way you can go to any arcade and you buy $20 worth of tokens and you play 20 games and you get your tickets and you go redeem those for a Slinky. We want to change the paradigm and make it free for learning. And instead of an hour tech time, imagine at school, imagine you going into a learning arcade, virtual learning arcade. Eventually, maybe we will have some physical learning arcades as well, but right now it's all virtual. Right now it's all on Roblox. But that's the idea of, as we continue to gamify education and the future of learning, we're able to transition into the next phase of where the child's at. We have to meet them where they're at. And then they're right now on screen time. They're on the iPad, they're on their phone. So meeting them where they're at, let's lean into that. And that is what we're leaning into now. And we can go into more details of the future of what we're doing there. Okay. So again, the alternatives and solutions in place today, we're going over this. So again, this is just basically the overview of what we've gone over in the past. This is just to kind of review. You can take a look at this in a deeper way. If you go, it should be in the link, playtolearn.com/gamified, and you can see that and the nuances of marketing to Gen Z and why brands need to focus on engagement, not incentives. We always say this: unconditional, uncircumstantial. In the same way, you don't want to force your kids to love you. You want this community that you're building to be engaged, not just focused on incentives. So you want the game itself to be a standalone. In the same way, most actors will be an actor regardless if they're paid. They, of course, want to get paid, but they will do it because they love it. It's a passion. It's a desire to grow, and they enjoy doing it. So the goal of the game is to build a community regardless. In the same way, Apple, we call a 7-level, we have 7 levels of engagement. So an Apple level fan, some of them are at level 7. Apple has never even communicated to them directly, but they live and breathe and die for Apple. So that's a level 7 engagement. That's what we're trying to build here, is that level 7 engagement for those, for the brands and for the school systems, to help basically cohesively grow an economy. So a Minister of Education, El Salvador, as they build up and they're creating more Web3 tokenomics and incentives. Those incentives, though, are great, but then how do you build an engagement across the community without incentives? How do you do it where it's self-sustaining and sustainable? And that's where that unconditional, uncircumstantial comes in, as a community together. And that's where the goal and the future lies, I think, with building a game in and of itself that is fun to play regardless of incentives. But again, the incentives being there, so that's a double-edged sword. So we'd love to go into that further, but we'll leave it for now. Again, benefits of blending gamification with other marketing strategies. And I think that this is where helping economies really grow as a whole, and in your local community, a town, a larger state, a country, whatever level you're at, as you use gamification and learning, Learning is the foundation and base for any major industry. It's the base for real estate, finance, it's healthcare. How do you have that intake of information? And when we gamify that through Roblox and other game platforms, what does that look like? And those marketing strategies, everyone is just starting. It's at the tip of the iceberg right now. It's just beginning. Just like the Jetsons helped basically set the foundation for what Zoom would eventually look like. And everyone is now on different forms of FaceTime, Zoom, etc. meetings. That's what the Jetsons originally put into society of what to look forward to. They had that to reverse engineer. Okay, this is the future. This is what we think the future is going to look like. How do we reverse engineer that? And the Jetsons putting a version of FaceTime or Zoom out there, this is what we had to look forward to. And maybe it didn't happen exactly as they thought, but just beyond just a few tweaks, that's what happened. And that's what we get to do with reverse engineering what we create as a final, for example, the fashion. The kids get to make a virtual t-shirt, and that's what others get to copy and reverse engineer, right? At least we have an end in mind, and we reverse engineer that. So I think that that's where we as marketers and with marketing strategies, if we start with the end in mind, we can reverse engineer certain outputs that we want. So if we haven't innovated in a long time and we want to innovate something and we want to work towards an end goal, just like the Jetsons and putting it out there in your next 10-year plan as a company, you could work towards something that has yet to be seen within your vertical, within your industry, but you can put it out there and we can role play actually being a part of that and work towards that goal, whatever it is, whatever industry it is. And I think that that's the beauty of what we can do now in the near term, and then far term. Near term right now, you can role play what you're currently doing with your business. You can be a part of that gamification of the strategy of what's tangible now with your business. And then you work towards the future. If you want now basically half your companies in the real world and half your companies in the digital world, everything is like, let's say half software and half hardware. If you're wanting to go towards 99% software and 1% hardware, where you're not really focused on the real world, you're just completely focused on the non-physical, let's say as a gaming company, then we have to work towards that with the end in mind. So there's certain things that you can do to create strategies around that, and that blending of the gamification is key as everything is now going more and more online. And that is, I think, what we need to focus on in the future. And the gamified education as in general for learning, this is where we're tapping into for the kids. And envisioning that future state, this is kind of where we're going with that. That's kind of going into that next phase, the power of gamification. In general, we talked about staggering statistics, how much greater retention is for gamification compared to a normal classroom setting. But that's not just the classroom, that's any form of teaching. So you onboarding a loyal fan base, if you're not gamifying it, then your loyalty is much lower than it could be if you've gamified it. So in general, any business or school can use the same applications in different ways, but the same principle applies. And being able to be original in the same way the Jetsons were original, having that end in mind and reverse engineer that, whether it's 10 years out, you don't want to be disrupted by anyone but yourself. If you're a leader in the space, you want to be disrupted by yourself and not anyone else. So when you have that 10-year plan and when you're looking out, and I know, of course, you can't predict the future, but you want to at least role play and gamify that for your community to be a part of it. And that's the future of other basically platforms like Roblox, Minecraft, you know, Unreal 5 and Epic building out their metaverse, etc. What that's going to look like in the next 5 years, we have no clue what gaming in general is going to look like, what esports is going to look like, how you're going to gamify the intake of knowledge and understanding through artificial intelligence in different ways, applying different things to the gamification of anything you're doing, incentivizing anything. And that's where I think the original context of brand engagement has to be at the forefront of what's next, what's hot. If you could have predicted AI being so hot in the past 3 months as a brand, you could have really been at the forefront of that and really got into the hype. So again, depending on the marketing and where you're going, but you could, that's if you're more proactive in marketing. If you're more reactive, like maybe Apple, then you don't want to be at the forefront. Just like a Chinese idiom, first bird in the air gets shot. Maybe you want to be more reactive as a brand, and that's okay. So what's more reactive as a brand is showing what's proven. What is proven? Gaming is proven, and the future of that gaming increase, I think it's a 9.2% increase year over year, is staggering, and for the next foreseeable future, at least for the next 5 years. So with that being said, gamification and the retention of information as a whole, that's still being reactive. You don't have, that's not anything game changing. That's nothing that's proactive. That's more still being reactive. So again, it's the balance of being reactive and proactive in that sense. Designing a gamified marketing campaign that complies with all regulation, and then that's going to be key. Being able to having the data privacy, anti-fraud, age restrictions, transparency, decency of regulations. That's why in the future, building on blockchain is so important because of the stress of privacy, security, and the exchange of money, etc. It's going to be very much needed. And again, the technology isn't as really as important for the masses to understand, but for those who do care, I think having security should be at the forefront of education, similar to the financial industry or healthcare industry. Learning is the same, especially dealing with children under 13. And having that intake of information is so important. So what we're doing in privacy is one of the key points of why we're doing blockchain in the future, of why we're able to do what we do, and it's never been done before. Having that base layer of learning is so vital for the future of the world and understanding even how the interoperability between a minister of educations to communicate, and that real-time data of that communication is so important. That's why intelligence dashboard is needed. What steps should companies take to launch gamified learning and marketing in their niche? So you have to be brave. It is brave of you to understand the future. Maybe you don't understand something, just in the same way Jetsons put out there to Zoom or FaceTime. No one really knew what that meant. That's where we're looking towards, to break into a future of gaming in a way learning has never gone before. And just because we know through statistics that it's the obvious future of learning, I know it may be scary for a lot of brands to support that, because maybe you feel that it's more proactive than your brand normally is. I think that this is vital for you as a brand in general, as an ecosystem and community, to set the standard for your community, to say this is what's best for all of you. I know based on statistics, it's what's best. I don't know, and we don't have everything figured out, and there's not neuroscience necessarily to have case studies to show the importance yet. Of course, there's more and more case studies every month showing the importance of gaming, gamification, and neuroscience, and neuroplasticity, and mindset of role playing, and such. And we will be doing more of those studies, but we definitely want to see how do we break into the gamification of education throughout the world, really. I mean, it's really not just one industry. It's not one area in the world that's more or less needed. It's really needed globally in every language and every industry, because the kids learning and the students learning. I wish I could have learned, for example, how to do taxes in school. I wish I would have been taught more about mental health in school. And I wish I could have been taught, I mean, many things. The list goes on and on. But being able to gamify and give things to schools and give them, for example, tech time. They can go on and to gamify anything that they want, and then they can go and learn and then teach others based on what they like the most. And those final exams that they're teaching can go back into the platform for others to learn with. And that's the teach learn mindset. I think that that's going to be very applicable as well for brands and influencers that basically lead the charge in learning about community within brands and ecosystems that are between. For example, if the pickleball community is trying to gamify the adoption and learning of pickleball around the world, what does that look like? And so being able to gamify that and connect it to health, for example, and the faster you run, um, and the more you hit the ball, the racket, you know, that's a gamification, that's incentive. So I need to drink electrolytes to hit the ball harder and to run faster on the court, right? So then we actually have others to incentivize that and have coconut water as saying, okay, well, coconut water gives you electrolytes. So let's drink a coconut water. So that can connect in the physical and non-physical world. The same with yoga, same with anything. How you gamify that in the real world, connecting to different parts of the growth of an economy, whether a minister of culture, minister of education, minister of health, that is the, it could be badminton for one country, it could be football for another, it could be rugby for another. But I think the gamification of that country and understanding the nuances and the different verticals they want to focus on. If you're rebuilding a country, understanding and reverse engineering what we're working towards is also vital. It could be for really anything. You can gamify anything, and that's the beauty of the platform. So the need for independent gamified education agencies. I think having agencies on record in the same way you do have advertising, we want to have the commitment of education before sales. How do you have the buy-in of these large agencies? And we're talking with a few even about helping some of the Fortune 500 companies. How do we discuss this on a level that already fits into the current structure? And normally you have an agency on record as a larger brand, and they go through and assist that brand with bringing to market the ideas of the community and what's best for the community and what's best for the bottom line of that company. So they work in tandem, hand in hand. Iron sharpening iron, diamond cutting diamond. How do you then work with that to make it a trifecta to help educate the world around that, what's best for the company and what's best for the community? And that almost third party, as you were, that third party basically helps navigate for both sides what's best for everyone. And you being able to gamify that is even more important, and bring it alive for the community to understand the brand that they've grown to love, but they need to understand insight to that brand, and that brand having a community and understanding the need for gamified, really learning in general of seeing where the brand is going, right? So if you're disrupting yourself, it's maybe hard or you disrupting your own country, right? A CBDC, central bank digital currency, that's a very disruptive. Right now, most of the financial systems, as it is, just banking in general is hard enough for the average, student to understand. But now with central bank digital currency, it'll be 10 times harder for onboarding a country into a community of understanding what it is for you opening a wallet and having NFTs and having incentives and social tokens like we spoke about earlier. That's very, very, very important, though. If you're disrupting yourself, which is inevitable, you have to as a country, as a brand. But then in that disruption, how do you not lose your half your audience? How do you not leave your community behind? And that's the update of understanding where you came from, those X's and O's that got you to that Super Bowl. How do you then go back to the basics and go back to that understanding of where you came from. And that's where we have to have that gamification of agencies will help that. It'll help you kind of go outside of yourself and help from a third party perspective see things that maybe you don't see on your own. But we're not saying to hire an agency or to not hire someone in house. It's up to you. But I think the future of this, we're just saying gamified education as a brand strategy is something that you need to think about. So measuring the success of a gamified campaign, that is the very essence of why we're building the intelligence dashboard, and that intake of information in real time. Instead of it being reactive, it's more proactive, similar to a 3D printed medicine. Again, that is vital to the health of an organization, of a education department, in really understanding every child is unique. Every child does need something 3D printed for them in real time daily. How do you get to that point of customizing something for every child and making them feel needed and wanted, in that process of getting the best retention of information in the student's brain? And that is so vital. And the gamification of that is at the heart of what the teach learn methodology is and what we're doing and how we're correlating that back to role play. And I will leave that here. We are so happy and so thankful that you're able to be a part of this journey with us. And we look forward to building a better community here, Play to Learn and metahug.org. If there is anything we can do to reach out to you and to see whatever there is to help support your brand, and we can refer you as well to help maybe other agencies that can help, as well as our agency, and then just as consultants helping you build out your gamified education campaigns. And with us, we just want to help you in Roblox build out that brand, that community with the students. And then as we expand to other game platforms, we definitely look forward to helping you there. But right now, just focusing on Roblox, there is so much work there to be done, so much need, so much growth. We look forward to it. Definitely reach out to us if you need anything. Again, my email is joshua@playtolearn.com, play2learn.com. Whatever we can do to help you, let us know. Thank you so much. And every Tuesday at noon, have long form of content. Next week, we're going to go back to the format of just with me interviewing others, and be sure to sign up for that. We look forward to speaking next week with your questions and to get comments. Thank you so much. Take care.